Ilara lived a quiet, peaceful life in a small coastal town until she met Daniel and felt a spark of unexpected hope. Soon, she discovered he was married, yet their secret relationship continued, pulling her into guilt, waiting, and isolation. In the end, she found the courage to end it, reclaimed herself, and eventually discovered a love that was honest and safe. My life in Seaview was a carefully curated, still life. I had a small cottage with a blue door, a job at the local library that smelled of old paper and peace, and a ritual of evening walks where the only sound was the shush of waves on the pebbled shore and the cry of gulls heading home. I had built this life plank by plank, a sturdy raft after a shipwreck I didn't like to talk about. It was quiet, it was safe, and on most days, that was enough. The big city was a distant, shimmering mirage on the other side of the bay, a place of noise and complication I had willingly left behind. Here, the days were soft and predictable, like the worn edges of my favorite books. I thought I had closed the chapter on tumult, on the kind of heartache that leaves a permanent weather system in your chest. I was wrong. I'd only been reading the introduction. I met him in the off-season when the tourists had vanished and the town belonged to itself again. It was a Tuesday, and the rain was a gentle curtain against the library's large windows. He was standing by the travel section, looking lost but in a calm, unhurried way. He had the kind of face that seemed familiar immediately, not because I'd seen it before, but because it fit a quiet hope I didn't know I was carrying. His eyes were a warm, steady brown, and when he asked for a recommendation, his voice was low and kind. He wasn't like the brash men from my past, all sharp edges and loud promises. He was a portrait of stillness. We talked about books for 20 minutes, the conversation easy and winding. He told me his name was Daniel. He was new in town, he said, here for a few weeks to oversee a small architectural project, a renovation of the old community hall. He spoke with a gentle precision that made me feel like my words were being truly listened to, collected like smooth stones. Our encounters became a pattern. He'd come into the library most afternoons. Then we progressed to coffee at the Salty Bean, the steamy cafe next door. Our conversations deepened, moving from books to dreams, from fears to the small funny scars life leaves on you. He was attentive in a way that felt novel and intoxicating. He remembered the name of my childhood dog, the fact that I hated cilantro, the way I always tucked my hair behind my right ear when I was nervous. He felt like a sanctuary. When he finally kissed me, it was under the amber glow of a street lamp, with a cold, clean wind coming off the water. It felt like a beginning written in the stars, a reward for all my quiet years of patience. I let myself fall, not with a scream, but with a sigh of relief. I had found him. The reveal was not dramatic. It was quiet, which made it so much worse. We were in my cottage, tangled in my sheets, the moon painting silver stripes across the floor. He was tracing the line of my spine, and his voice was thick with a sadness I mistook for the profound intimacy of the moment. "There's something I need to tell you, Ilara," he said. My name on his lips had always felt like a prayer, but now it sounded like a sentence. And then he said them, the words that split my world in two. A wife, 2 children, a life in the city across the bay. A life he loved, he insisted, but had somehow compartmentalized into a box that didn't touch this one, didn't touch me. The air left the room. The kind, gentle man was a lie. Or rather, he was a truth, but one that belonged to someone else. The stillness I admired was the stillness of a deep, hidden conflict. What followed was the dangerous kind of forever. It wasn't a forever of growing old together on the porch, but a forever of suspended animation. Our relationship became a secret garden, beautiful and lush, but walled in and starved of real sun. Our time was measured in stolen hours. A late afternoon when he was supposedly at a site meeting, a stolen weekend when his family was visiting grandparents. The world I had so carefully built shrank to the dimensions of my cottage and the interior of his car. The warmth was still there, achingly so. He'd bring me a single sunflower, cook me pasta in my small kitchen. His laughter still felt like home, but it was a home built on a fault line. The guilt was a constant hum in the background, a low-grade fever. I started to hate the sound of his phone buzzing, the way he'd sometimes drift off in the middle of a sentence, his mind returning to a world I could never enter. I was a satellite, orbiting a planet that had a brighter, more important sun. My friends noticed the fade. I canceled plans, became vague, my smiles didn't reach my eyes anymore. My world, once open to the sea and the sky, had become a waiting room. I was always waiting for a text, a call, a sign that I still existed to him. The vibrant colors of my life muted to a perpetual gray. The greatest lie I told myself was that this was enough, that these crumbs of affection were a feast because the alternative, nothing, was too terrifying to contemplate. I had traded my safe, solitary life for a thrilling, shared prison. The catalyst was my friend Maya. She cornered me one Tuesday at the cafe, her gaze sharp and unforgiving. "You've disappeared, Alara," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You're a ghost of yourself. This thing that's making you small, it's not love. Love shouldn't feel like a secret you're ashamed of. Love should be a shelter, not a storm." She didn't know the details, but she saw the effect. Her words landed not as an attack, but as a key turning in a lock I had long since thrown. I looked out the window at the calm, steady sea and then down at my own hands, clenched tight around a cooling mug. I saw the truth. I had become the secret. I had allowed my love to become something that needed to be hidden. The danger of this forever was not in the potential of being found out, but in the certainty of being slowly erased. Ending it required a dignity I had to claw back from a deep, sad place. I didn't scream or cry. I didn't list his transgressions. When he came over that evening, I was calm. The cottage was clean, the air still. I told him I knew what we were doing, and I could no longer live half a life in the shadows of his whole one. I told him that I loved him, and because I did, I had to love myself more. The pain on his face was real, and that almost broke me. He didn't fight me. He just nodded, his shoulders slumping, and said, "I never meant to hurt you." And I believed him. But meaning and consequence are two different countries. He left, and the silence he left behind was immense. It was the silence of a stopped clock, the end of a dangerous forever. The healing was not a straight line. It was a slow, deliberate reconstruction. The first few weeks were a raw ache. I'd see his car, or a man with his build, and my heart would lurch. But I forced myself back into the world. I said yes to Maya's invitations for walks. I reconnected with the friends I'd neglected. I started a writing class at the community hall, the very one he had been renovating, which felt like a quiet reclamation. I walked the beach for hours, the salt spray stinging my cheeks, mingling with tears sometimes. I wrote down all the things I was feeling, purging the poison onto the page. I learned slowly to fill the space he had occupied with things that were truly mine. I remembered the woman with the blue door cottage who liked her own company, who found joy in the simple rhythm of the tides. Months later, the sharp grief had softened into a dull, manageable scar. It was in my writing class that I met Leo. He was quiet, with a thoughtful smile and eyes that held no hidden storms. He wrote poems about gardening and his aging dog. Our conversation started over shared critique, over bad coffee in the hallway. He was patient. He asked questions and waited for the answers. He never pressed. When he finally asked me to dinner, it was with a clear, open-ended invitation for a Saturday night. There were no secrets, no caveats. Our first kiss was under the same street lamp, but this time it felt like a promise, not a secret. It was gentle and respectful. A door opening slowly, inviting me to step through when I was ready. The resolution wasn't a dramatic, sweeping romance. It was something quieter and far more valuable. It was the understanding that a love that costs you your peace is never a fair trade. It was the hard-won knowledge of my own worth. With Leo, everything is out in the open. We walk on the beach together, our hands linked, and talk about our days, our pasts, our hopes for a future that is not walled in. The love I feel for him is not a frantic, all-consuming fire. It is a steady, warm hearth. It is safe. It is a love that allows me to remain myself, only brighter. I look out at the horizon, where the sea meets the sky in a seamless, open line, and I feel a calm I haven't known in years. This, I think, as Leo squeezes my hand and points out a distant sailboat, this is the forever worth having. The sun on my face felt different now, not like something I had stolen, but like something I had earned. If stories like this resonate, subscribe for more.